too many. Good afternoon, everyone. As I introduced, Jules King, and the chair of Women in the Fire Service. So I've just got a few slides just to talk to you about an organisation, and our mission is enabling and inspiring confident and successful women to build a more progressive fire and rescue service. Now, Women in the Fire Service has been going since the early 1990s, and I know there are some colleagues in the room who are local reps, and people who have also attended our national training and development event. But I don't want to make assumptions that everybody knows about Women in the Fire Service. So are there people in the room that don't know about Women in the Fire Service? And it's okay to say no. And if there are no hands, I cannot tell you how amazing that makes me feel. That is brilliant. That shows that we are doing something right, which is absolutely brilliant. So Women in the Fire Service, as I said, was established in the early 90s. It's a not-for-profit organisation, and it is primarily supported by women, for women, but also we have male allies as well, and that I cannot overstate how important that absolutely is. And the other thing that I want to make sure that people are aware as well is it's for all roles as well. I think we've heard a little bit today about inclusivity, especially when we heard from AJ earlier from the Firefighters Charity. It's for everybody. I think sometimes there's a misconception that actually Women in the Fire Service is about operational roles, but it's about all women in the Fire and Rescue Service. As I said, it's volunteer-led. I'm proud to say that I'm the chair of that, supported by a number of directors and regional reps. And I'm just going to do a quick plug and just invite some of those people who are members and involved in Women in the Fire Service. If you're a local rep or a regional rep, could you just maybe just stick your hand up and give us a little bit of a wave? Brilliant, loads of you. So if you're not involved in Women in the Fire Service and you see some of those people with their hands up, absolutely have a conversation with those. We are funded by donations and corporate membership. We have approximately 350 individual memberships at the moment. And actually, as I stand here today, for the first time, I believe, that we have ever been able to say that every fire and rescue service in the UK are corporate members of Women in the Fire Service, and that has not always been the case. We also have corporate members from other organisations, such as the National Fire Chiefs Council and other private organisations as well. So the aims of Women in the Fire Service is to enable women in all roles to reach their full potential. We've heard a lot about that today. Be a recognised resource in every UK fire and rescue service, to support gender equality in the UK and overseas, and encourage role models. If she can see it, she can be it. And just a little plug for George, because we spoke about this earlier. If it wasn't for one of the Women in the Fire Service events, where George had the idea with some of her colleagues about the Antarctic Fire Angels. And if you don't know about the challenge, which is 7 weeks tomorrow, I believe, 7 weeks tomorrow, the Antarctic expedition's absolutely incredible what Georgie and Bex are doing. So please do go and have a conversation with them. And to help improve recruitment, retention and progression. So that's just a little bit about Women in the Fire Service. And I've just got a couple of other slides as well, just to talk about that link between Women in the Fire Service and menopause support. So we have a private Facebook group which anyone can ask to be a member. At the moment we have about 1,800 members of that group. We also have support through local and national networks. We have a WhatsApp group as well that we encourage and we use for peer support. Sometimes there are environments, and I'm sure some of the people in the room can relate to this, that you can feel that sometimes you are alone, sometimes you're the only one that has that particular experience or that particular situation at the time. And being able to use that Facebook group and that WhatsApp group, it will enable you to reach into that fantastic support so you don't feel alone, and nobody should ever feel alone in the workplace. Through the NFCC and particularly through COVID as well, we adapted the way that we work, and we did a number of lunch and learn sessions, and we will continue to do those. Women in the Fire Service is really about a conduit for information sharing, and by having the local and the regional reps out in all of the UK fire and rescue services, it helps us to make sure that we can link and connect in with other organisations as well. it's all about connecting people, and the event here, as I stand here now, is an exact example of that. There are opportunities for us to do more, that we can support our reps a little bit further so that they have the tools to go out into their workplaces and have conversations with people, but also to have those conversations with their senior leaders as well and not be afraid to have those conversations. And as a number of you in the room will know about, we're probably most known for our training and development event that takes place every year at the Fire Service College. Last year, this year, we had 225 delegates that over the course of 2.5 days experienced a number of different workshops, inspiring speakers, etc. And just to share one little story that I mentioned to somebody else earlier, we always receive some fantastic feedback from that. But one story in particular really resonated with me was a firefighter in a fire service had decided that she was going to resign from the fire and rescue service because she couldn't cope with the cultural challenges that she was experiencing. But she thought she'd have one last experience, and she came to the training and development event. And as a result of that event and engaging with some people that came as delegates and some of the speakers, etc., she went back to her on-call station, opened up her locker and tore up her letter of resignation. So that's really, really powerful to show what that training and development event can achieve. You wouldn't think it would be so hard just to press one button, would you? You have to have a magic touch. There we go. But there's still work to do. Of course there is. So it's really important that women in the fire service, that we keep up to date with policies and legislation. We have to recognise our own limitations as well. So we are volunteers and we all have full-time jobs as well. So we have to recognise our capacity. Sometimes we have some fantastic ideas, but I'd much rather deliver one thing and do it well rather than overpromise and then not be able to achieve. Use the expertise that we've got from this room here today, from the NFCC, from the excellent presentations from the doctors we heard earlier, the firefighters charity, other fire and rescue services, what they're doing. You know, we all need to learn from that. I think also, if I was being really honest, there are some times when I feel a little bit like we're starting from scratch from every scenario. So if I use an example of sometimes on the Facebook group, there'll be, I'm just returning to work from maternity, and I'm not really sure about keeping in touch days, or I'm not really sure about breastfeeding on station, etc., etc. And we seem to have the same conversations that start, and then people send their policies through, and people share their lived experience. And I think if we can get a little bit more mature about that, that's certainly something that I would like to be able to do, so that we're not starting from the start position every time, and we're actually learning as we go. Do we need to have some kind of dedicated menopause support? Well, I think what I've learned from here actually is we are all in it together, whether it's women in the fire service, whether it's individual fire and rescue services, whether you've got lived experience, whether you've got a vested interest. We're all actually just trying to do the same thing. So wouldn't it be great if we just had one menopause policy and one set of guidance and one iLearn package and one training event, etc., and the UK Fire and Rescue Service adopted that? I might have my rose-tinted glasses on, but it would be great, and I can't see why we can't do that. So let's try. We've also heard as well about the consideration of younger women. I think not just because we have to consider younger women in terms of going through early menopause. George mentioned it earlier about actually it's when you're recruiting staff, you need to think about that for their career, and you mentioned as well about actually we want to retain our women, so we need to make sure we do that. But also, if I reflect back as a younger woman myself, I wouldn't have given a single thought to the menopause. And now going through the menopause and having and being on HRT and experiencing a whole load of those symptoms that we've all spoken about today, I think if I'd known that 20 years ago and had my eyes open to it, I think I probably wouldn't have been in denial of some of my symptoms, and I probably would have taken them on much better had I known that. And I think the last thing is women in the fire service, we are so keen just to work with other partners and organisations. We want to work with people. So the Fire Fit survey, yes please, wherever you are. Yes, please, please give us that survey. We will make sure we get it round to our 1,800 women through the Facebook page, through the Firefighters Charity. We do quite a lot of work with the Firefighters Charity. We can link in much more around some of the events and training that are taking place. And instead of feeling like women in the fire service have got to own something and do it specifically, actually it's already being done. And actually, to go back to my earlier point, we just need to be the conduit and just bring all the information in and then share it. And that's just a little bit of a blurry picture because I squished it up. I don't think we've got time for questions, but that's just a photograph of some of the delegates that came to this most recent year's training and development event. Thanks ever so much.